There it is, man. What a That's from How I Met Your Mother. We got the star with us right now. Neil Patrick Harris is back.
What's happening, everybody?
So let me tell you guys about what's happened since the last time he was on the show and graced us with his presence. And we laughed the entire time, and we were enlightened. And
That's a double whammy there.
I know, right, man? We felt smarter when he walked out the room. And then later that week, I believe it was, I went and hung out with friends of mine with the collective called Ghetto Gastro.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
I do remember that.
And they put together this Harlem experience for Airbnb, the owner of Airbnb. And all these people came to Harlem, and they renovated this empty warehouse and made it into 3 floors of just iconic milestone places times that happen in Harlem.
Fully immersive theater style. And you would go from floor to floor and you'd eat delicious foods in a bodega vibe with a band that played.
Remember that?
It was very, very, very cool.
It was fucking dope.
Yeah, Airbnb is starting to do these experiences.
Yeah.
So if you want to go to Harlem and you can actually have a Harlem experience, you could stay at an Airbnb in Harlem, and then you can go to the haberdashery hat shop guy, and he'll teach you about hats and help you make one, so that you're actually being a part of the community as opposed to just going to Harlem to say that you went to Harlem. You can actually have a moment there and value it. It's a really good idea.
Dapper Dan was there.
Dapper Dan, yeah.
Right?
Nice.
Dougie Fresh was there.
He was. He performed.
He performed. ASAP Ferg performed.
I'm on the new level.
And so I'm sitting in the bleachers. I'm with Trevor Noah came through.
Okay.
Remember that, man? It was popping. This shit was popping, right? Shout out to Ghetto Gastro and all those guys, John Gray and all those guys. And I'm looking at ASAP Ferg perform, and I'm like, yo, man, who are these rowdy people in the middle of the crowd? I can't see the stage. Who are these people? Why don't they just dance somewhere else? And I look, and it's Neil Patrick Harris. What the fuck is going on?
Just doing bad white boy dancing with an overbite.
I'm on a new level. I'm on a new level. But that was great to see you out there, man. So I went on. I said, Neil does live in my neighborhood.
True that.
And so we were doing our research, and what was that we were watching?
It was a piece on Architectural Digest. They did a tour of your home, and they were showing like some of the artwork and like the bathrooms and the kitchen and
it's a pretty
taxidermy, like the kids' rooms. I mean, it was a crazy experience, like walking through, and kind of makes you feel like you're not doing enough when you kind of look at your home and compare it to.
Oh, I'm sorry that you feel that way.
His house look better than yours, way?
That's why I'm hating right now, Neil. I'm hating. Neil's house look way better than mine.
You know what's nice, I think, about living in New York in general is that it can be a little rough and tumble, and that's part of the experience. When we lived in L.A., I thought every house was gated and fancy, and you drive up, and I don't know, I just felt like I couldn't touch anything, and I think there's something tactile about this city. And we have kids who are twins who are 7, and when we did that, they were just turned 6, that Architectural Digest thing. So we can't have too much nice stuff, or they'll
ruin it.
Ruin it and draw and mark and puke all over it. So
I did want to ask you about you had a portrait of Pennywise from It. Was that yours?
Yeah.
So you're a horror fan too, as well? I mean,
I like clowns and freaky circus things. Yeah, I have a 2-headed cow fetus in a jar. That's very odd.
Be a wild boy behind.
Found out it's a bull. It's not a cow. It's a bull. Anyway,
family.
it's a boy.
What you learn about though you is, and the reason why we played that clip from How I Met Your Mother, and it was focused in and around magic, and then when I read your book, the Magic Misfits, and then I saw this clip of your house, and you have a room that's kind of designated to magic, right? Or is it
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. You got talk about the different magical things. Is this all right, Neil Patrick Harris?
Absolutely, man.
Okay,
I think magic in general is super fun. I'm a little bit less interested in metaphysical magic of sorcery and dragons and things. I like magic, card tricks and coin tricks and seeing an illusionist in Vegas. I like Cirque du Soleil when it comes. I like Sleep No More. I like immersive, the experiential thing that we did up in Harlem. And so, yeah, I have magic everywhere. Magic posters. There's a room that you push a poster, there's a magician with his eyes, and one of the eyes is silver, and you push it, and then the whole painting that's next to it opens up, and inside's this cool little speakeasy kind of a magic office. That's my my escape room, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, you got
it's my safe room.
That's your safe room right there.
Yeah, when the kids are getting too crazy, I can go hide in there and they'll never find me.
Pushing all sorts of wrong buttons, all sorts. So that kind of all of that informs why you like to write about. Partially why you like to write about magic, like since you were a kid.
It's been my hobby since I was a long time. You've been to LA? Have you been to the Magic Castle? Have you heard of it? So there's a private club in Los Angeles that's only for magician members or guests, and you have to have a card, and they have a restaurant there and 3 giant shows. It's called the Magic Castle. You have to wear a suit and a tie, and I was the president there for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And I was a junior member there. So magic's been my main thing, and our kids are getting older. They're starting to read, and I thought a good idea would be to write a book that was a little more advanced than they were, that could teach them about vocabulary, that could teach them about diversity and inclusion, and the idea that what you think is a fault of yours may actually become an asset, that when you work together, you're stronger than when you're on your own. And also teaching magic tricks in the book. So there's teacher tricks within it. So if you're 8, 9, 10, I think you can learn more than one kind of interesting lesson within it. So it's a series of 4 books, and it's a sort of middle grade reader from 8 to 9 up to however old you want to be when you read.
Okay.
And this is the first one. One will come out every year. So if you don't buy it now for this holiday season, then you're going to be like really fucking far behind.
But
the Magic Castle.
That's the quote for the back of book 2.
Is that the place that's between Highland and La Brea?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, you were the president.
I was.
Oh,
it's called the Academy of Magical Arts there at the Magic Castle. You guys should go anytime you
get in. You gotta be a member, right? We were told you had to be.
You have to be a member, but also there's a strict dress code. You have to have a suit and a tie for guys, and women have to wear dresses or cocktail attire. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people end up not going because they want to go other places that night, and they don't really want to get all that dressed up.
So what we thought it was, because I've been in L.A. since the early 90s. I got a home in the Valley back in 95. It was coming prior to that.
A whorehouse.
No. I said a home.
I'm saying the Magic Castle. You thought the Magic Castle was a whorehouse.
Nah, see, that's your skeleton bones coming out.
Fair enough. Next subject.
We thought they practiced black magic.
Black magic.
Not a whorehouse, man. Where that come?
I think that's what they do in whorehouses.
Yeah.
I think that's what that's the euphemism I use.
Okay, so this book. Real quick, what's the story about Carter? Talk about Carter. Who's Carter?
So Carter is a sort of street urchin kid that's raised by his uncle, and not sure about where his parents are. And he has learned magic through his uncle's teaching him magic, but the magic that he learns from his uncle is negative-ish.
Yeah.
Is
the
3-card Monty and stealing watches and pickpocketing and stuff like that. So that's all he knew of magic. They get in an altercation. He jumps on a train and goes away and wakes up in this town called Mineral Wells and doesn't quite know where to go, and ends up meeting these other kids who all enjoy magic as well, convince him to go to this magic shop run by a guy named Mr. Vernon, who was on the cover. If you turn the cover upside down, you can sort of see that's that guy with the top hat.
Yeah, that's Mr. Vernon.
Yep.
Okay.
And so he's sort of the mentor of all of them. And then they realize that a carnival is coming to town. This big gnarly dude named BB Bosso runs the carnival, and it turns out he's actually trying to steal diamonds that are in this town. And so the kids use their magical abilities to try and thwart said dastardly BB Bosso from stealing diamonds. So it's more kid fun friendly, but then throughout that they get to know each other. You get to know the kids. There's 4 main kids and then a set of twins who are sort of do comedy shtick.
And I like the twins are ethnically diverse here, Heather. If you look at the pictures of the little black guy on there too, right?
Sure. That's his name is Theo. Theo Steinmeier, and they're wealthy in the town actually.
Nice.
His father runs the orchestra, and he has a violin bow that can make things levitate.
Thank you for breaking the stereotypes, man. If a little black kid was poor and struggling with no dad or nothing, I'd be
no dad.
That's offensive.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I think, man.
Yeah.
Only in the magic book that the black kid is living great.
Black magic. Yeah, he said he liked black magic. Neil, my question for you is, since you have 2 kids, did you use them as like a focus group in a sense? Because I would wonder if you would get kind of lost maybe just with like adult jokes and wondering if an 8-year-old would know.
A little bit. They're a little on the younger side, so if anything,
Yeah.
it made me a little insecure, wondering if they'd think this was funny in a year when they're able to really read it on their own. Because I wanted to have a sense of humor in there that kids would appreciate, a smarter sense of humor than
Yeah.
just fart jokes and like easy things. Fart jokes, by the way, very funny. There's only 7 or 8 of them in the book.
They're always
No, and so, but I looked to them to see. I'm currently acting on a Netflix show called A Series of Unfortunate Events,
Right.
which is based on those Lemony Snicket books, which are kind of for the same age range. So I'm spending most of my time in the world of this age bracket. And so what Daniel Handler, who writes as Lemony Snicket, does really well is write with a darkness and a sense of humor level, but also educates in a very subtle way, so you're not feeling like it's heavy-handed. So
Yeah.
I would look at my kids and think about how I can push them forward, if that makes any sense.
It does.
No Patrick Harris is
Here's
here.
what I'm fascinated about. We all root for you. You know, every time we see you, obviously it's because you're working. And everybody, I think, in the back of their mind is like, yeah, Neil, get him. Doesn't matter if you're hosting,
Nice.
doing a show or whatever. But
Thank you.
I'm just trying to figure out, how do you have time, like, to do all of this stuff? Like, you working, you're doing a Netflix show, you're a dad, you're married. Like, how do you have time how do you juggle your time?
I have a production company called Prediction Productions, and there's 3 of us that work there, and I don't know. It's been great. We come up with a lot of good ideas,
Okay.
and then you see what sticks. And if something sticks, normally something like this would have we came up with the idea maybe 3 years ago, and then by
okay.
the time we get serious about it, a year has passed. So that 2 years ago, and then when you go pitch the idea, they like it. Then you bring on an editor. You start, it's a long process. So I guess what I'm having to do, sort of Tetris style, Candy Crush style, is figure out just when I can manage time-wise. The hardest part is filming in Vancouver, which is on the West Coast, and living in Harlem for the family, because that's a lot of red-eye flights,
Yeah.
because I miss the kids, and they're at the age where you want to be able to be with them as much as possible, but I'm working full tilt 16-hour days with make prosthetics all over my face, way far away. My lunch is their bedtime. So that's a little bit daunting. But there's only 3 seasons of that, and we start our 3rd season in January. I'll be done in May. So
Neil
I don't want to
Patrick,
complain when work is good.
Yeah, work is good, man. Plus, if you need a babysitter, man, shit, and that
We have 2 amazing nannies.
Okay, well, if you need a 3rd one, I'm here, Neil Patrick.
Yeah?
We got 2, Sway. In case the first one ain't available, we got.
I'll just find you in that magic room.
Oh, dude, I would get lost in your magic. Oh, man, you gotta
Ooh.
see this room.
That sounded
Daddy.
nasty.
Yes, 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 yes. All that dark art on the walls. Yes, I like that. I like that. All right, so I'm gonna try one of the mind tricks, I guess, from the book.
Oh, good.
Okay, I'm gonna try
Do
it
it,
myself.
do it.
Tracy, would you like to be a volunteer?
Okay.
Okay, so to all the kids, man, it teaches you how to do some of these tricks. So I'm gonna try one. All
Are there a
right.
lot of kids listening right now?
Yeah, kids listen to us.
Yeah?
Yeah, we got a big kid.
Big 8
following.
to 10 year olds?
8 to 10.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
their parents listen. So
That's fucking awesome.
parents, you could do it. Oh, there go the kids. All right. Okay, here we go. All right, so here's the step 1. It's in the back of the book. Ask someone to think of a number, any number. Make sure they write it down and put it in their pocket. You can also do this trick over the phone. Tracy, think of a number. Any number.
Okay.
Between 1 and 99, though.
I got my number.
Okay, Tracy, now what I want you to do is subtract 1 from that number. Whatever that number is, subtract 1 from it.
Done.
Boom.
Okay, all right. Multiply that number times 2.
Okay.
So you subtracted 1 and multiplied times 2.
Yep.
Why is she crying? This is crazy.
Okay,
Because she's not that good at math.
okay.
Tracy hates math, Neil.
All right, now add the original number you started with to the number you have after you subtracted 1 and multiplied by 2.
Okay.
Okay, now okay, where do I go from here?
What is it? What is it?
It says, now have the person reveal that new number. What's the new number?
1.
What the?
1?
Because minus 1 is 0.
Uh-huh.
And 0 times 2 is 0.
Uh-huh.
And then 0 plus 1 is 1.
Okay.
she just
Go on.
fucked up the whole.
Yeah, she might have fucked up the whole thing. All right, and now
I'm a
as quick as
beast.
you can. And take that number, new number, and
You
Was
lost.
Slay supposed to guess it?
Okay.
And then what does it say?
You want to do it
I'm
again?
Could we
loving
come back
this.
with a
And
different
number-
trick?
No,
Okay,
I'm
it says,
loving
okay. It says now as quick as you can. This is where those math classes come in handy. Thank you, Neil.
Okay.
In your head, take that new number and add 2. So the new number was 1. You add 2.
Okay.
That gives you 3. Then in your head, divide by that number by 3,
Okay.
and that number divided by 3 equals.
What?
We guess your answer.
Hi.
All right. Yeah.
Boom! You just had to keep reading, right?
Okay, I know. Yes, that's the answer.
That is the
Yeah,
answer.
the trick works, ladies and
Magical.
gentlemen.
What kind of black
Callaway.
magic was that?
So I will say that took a while. I will say that the magic that is in this book is intentionally designed for kids to be able to. They may not be the most deceiving effects. There's one that teaches you how to roll a coin on your fingers. One that uses crayons, where you can have anyone think of a color of a crayon. So it's intentional math that's relatively simplistic, more so that the kids will be interested in magic as an idea, but also achievable for them at a younger age.
Yes.
Okay,
So I
thank you.
don't want you to walk away and say that trick was dumb.
No, I'm actually a math guy. I'm really kind of good with numbers, or so I thought.
Nice.
Until that trick. Thank you, Neil Patrick Harris.
Well, you just didn't read step 4.
Damn shit! It just she tried to trick. She did the whole one thing. She tried to trick the equation out. Is what happened.
Still
That's
worked.
not true.
It
It still
worked.
worked. It still worked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm glad
Tracy.
she didn't say a fraction. That would have been exhausting for you.
That's the sort of thing she would do, though. So, all right. Well, before you go, 2 more things.
Yes,
Mike
sir.
Muse has a question for you. Mike Muse, go ahead.
Hey Neil, I have a question. You mentioned this book is good for diversity and inclusion for young children. I'm curious, as a parent to twins, there's always that awkward moment of when do you talk about sex to your kids, right? But I feel like now,
Yeah.
in the day and age that we live in now, it's time for us to have a conversation about diversity, inclusion, and identity. So at what age do you encourage, or I guess for you personally, did you begin to talk to your twins, or if you have, about diversity, inclusion, and identity? And how did you frame it?
Well, that's a lot of conversation. Diversity, inclusion, individuality, sex. Like those are big things. So I don't think we haven't really set an age. We just try to answer questions to our kids as honestly as possible, and their vocabulary and sort of their age and their smarts will dictate what kind of conversation they want to have. I don't think it's great to sit down and explain how intercourse works. I think if they ask questions and want to know about that, you can have that conversation. But I think that would be an arbitrary date. The inclusion and the diversity stuff for our family's been great. They go to a school called Dalton, which has got an incredibly diversive in every possible way. The students themselves, the faculty, it's pretty amazing. We live up in Harlem, so we're kind of the minority within the bubble that we're living, so we're around a lot of racial diversity, so we're able to have those kind of conversations a lot. Inclusion's been really important for us as parents, because to a wide swath of kids, a mom and a dad is what is normal, and having 2 parents of the same sex would be unnatural or abnormal in some way. And both of those words to me are sort of a negative connotation. So we just say there's lots of different versions of what normal would be. Some people have 1 parent, some people are lucky enough to have 2. If they're 2 dads, that's fantastic. 2 moms, they get to live. It's one of the great things about New York is that you live in the city of New York. You get to see all these things happen. We take the subway and you see craziness and you have to process it. You can talk about it, but we try to keep our kids out of a sheltered little bubble and pretend to not look the other way. I'd rather have a conversation about stuff than try and convince them that stuff doesn't exist.
Neil Patrick Harris, man, still always got great answers too.
That's great.
All right,
That was a plot
can't
twist.
wait to get in that magic room.
Oh, God.
You're
Still?
still flirting with me. This is
Man.
so uncomfortable.
I'm going for mine, Neil.
Already know.
All right, we got this game we prepared for you, man. We got-
games. I love them.
Yes, and it's called Battle of the Best.
All right.
Okay, you're rich, you're famous. The Battle of the Best on Sway in the morning.
All right, so basically I took a couple of names of some of the greatest magicians in history.
Oh, cool.
And you pick 2 at a time.
Okay.
And you decide which one you think would be better.
Okay, great. I love that they're all magicians. That's great. The first one that I pulled is Harry Blackstone Sr., fantastic magician.
His son as well.
His son was Harry Blackstone Jr. He performed right into Super Bowl halftime shows and stuff. Harry Blackstone Sr. versus Dynamo, who's a current British magician who mainly does sort of street magic.
Okay.
Well known there. Well, one of my favorite things is getting up and going out and seeing a show live. I think we live in sort of a digital screen-based world where flat screen TVs aren't that expensive and Netflix is really accessible. So I'm just a proponent. I think when you go and see a circus or a Broadway show or the neighborhood, whatever, a concert, I think you have a better experience with that. So I would say Harry Blackstone Sr.
Okay.
Because that's old school. You got dressed up, put on a top hat and a derby, went and saw him in his actual big illusion show. No disrespect to Dynamo, he's good too.
Yeah.
But his more TV magic. I don't mean that disrespectfully, but we live in a TV world.
It is what it is.
Dante, the magician. Oh, he's even older school than Harry Blackstone Sr. Dante's amazing. Against David Blaine.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh.
See, David Blaine, I'm super duper impressed by magically. Because he knows magic really well. He has a great think tank of guys around him that help him create stuff that's impressive. But he's a bit of a masochist. He does these things that really aren't magic.
Yeah.
That he'll, hold his breath for 15 minutes for longer. He'll be buried in ice for days, weeks. He won't eat. There's no magic trick there. It's not like, how is that done when no one's looking? There's a mirror there and he's eating cheeseburgers. He's just not eating or anything. So his shows, the newest thing he does is just he sticks a needle through his hand.
I've seen
You
it.
should watch this on YouTube. Look up Ricky Gervais from The Office. Look up him and David Blaine. It's unbelievable. But again, I'm old school. Dante performed tricks where there'd be a little table on a stage, and he was the grand guy with the cape, and he would stand up on this little pedestal table. He'd cover it, boom, hot chick would appear. Then he'd cover it, boom, hot chick would appear. He'd cover it, boom, he'd produce 16, 18, 20 girls, one rapid fire after another. You could see all around. There was nowhere they were coming from. Like, he did some old school, large
Right.
So how did they do
production
that?
stuff.
Was that mirrors or
He's
how
not going
did
to tell you.
Tell us, snitch.
if had you not jumped in, he might have slipped out.
Yeah, right.
DB.
I shouldn't say. Harry Houdini. He was great. He was a bit more like the David Blaine. And Jean-Eugene Robert Houdin. So Robert Houdin, that's a very interesting duo, because Houdini was obsessed with Houdin, and since he turned his name from Eli Weiss, to Harry Houdini. So, although Robert Houdin's like you kind of got to go Harry Houdini.
Because
he took it to an American place, and he was a rock star. He would sell. Back then, there was no way to get information around, not even really newspapers so much.
Yeah.
And so he would go and put his image all over billboards and slap them up, those magic posters, which you've probably seen of Harry
Like
Houdini.
P. Diddy,
And he would go to the theater. Everyone would go stand out in front of the theater, and they'd lift him up on ropes, and he would be tied up in a straitjacket hanging by his feet, and he would completely escape. And then everyone would cheer, and then they'd open the theater, and everyone could go in and see the show. And that's how he made all his money.
Wow.
So he would have to literally gather thousands of people together. Streets would be closed off, and he'd do these spectacle shows. And he'd do one cool, amazing physical stunt, punch me in the stomach. I'd challenge anyone to find a lock, and I'll escape from it.
Yeah.
Getting punched actually is what killed him.
Right.
And but I love the balls to do that.
So what show impressed you the most that you've seen in person?
Right now, I'm producing a magic-based show called In and of Itself in Union Square. It's 70 minutes, one man. It's not for my next trick. It's this guy named Derek Delgadio. He's extraordinary. It's short. It's intermissionless. We keep extending. It's now going on through May. He monologues and tells stories, and within it does these things that deal with identity and conversations about him. It is so amazing to me because it's magic, and he's doing things no one knows how they're done, and it's a great date. So I think right now, show-wise, Derek Delgadio and In and of Itself has got the best magic going on, and it's in NYC.
Nice.
It
So
is.
check that out.
Neil Patrick
You guys
Harris.
would actually love it.
Yeah, I'll have
Thank
to
you,
look
man.
that up.
Hey, thanks for coming by, too, brother.
My pleasure.
Always a pleasure, man.
Thanks for having
I'll
me.
see you in Harlem.
Definitely.
hovering outside of your
Begging to get in my magic
the
room.
magic room. All right, and don't forget, pick up the new book, The Magic Misfits. It's a great book, man. Great book to read with your kids. We want to thank our guest DJ today that came by, the Selectress, the one and only DJ Ari La, for coming through. Tomorrow's show, we got Talib Kweli's coming by. And a guy, somebody that I follow on Instagram because he's always positive, a man who changed his life around from being locked up and came out into the streets, became a motivational speaker. Wallow267 is coming by tomorrow, too. We're going to have him on the show.
Nice.
Neil Patrick Harris, thanks for coming through, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Always good to have you, man. Continue success with the work you're doing, man.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Tracy, how can they reach you?
Twitter, Instagram, at It's Tracy G, ITSJACYG. Also, breaking news regarding Meek Mill. The same judge, Denise Brinkley, she has denied his request for bail. She's saying that Meek is a flight risk and a danger to the community. And those reasons are for why she's denying him bail. She's also suggesting that the validity of his clean drug test is probably iffy. She believes that he used something called fast flush to cleanse his system.
Well,
She hates him.
You don't like that guy. Man. Oh, DB, how can they reach you? Thank you, Tracy.
It's really DB everywhere.
Me at DJ Wonder.
Hey, you can reach me at I am Mike Muse, M-U-S-S-A-M-E on Twitter and Instagram. Really quickly, citizens, for those of you living in Miami, I'm producing an Art Basel event this Friday on the intersection of art and technology. It's going to be free food, free drinks, open bar, great conversation. The first 10 citizens from Miami who DM me, you'll get complimentary tickets.
boom.
I am Mike Muse.
Yes.
Go ahead and DM him. All right, Wonder.
What? At DJ Wonder. Don't DM me.
Okay. What about Neil Patrick Harris? Should they DM him?
Yeah.
No, I'm just okay. How can they reach you, bro?
On Instagram, I'm at NPH, and on the Twitter, I'm at actually NPH. And check out the Magic Misfits. You can buy it at bookstores everywhere. And In and of Itself, show I'm producing. At In and of Itself.
Okay.
I could keep on talking.
I like that. I like hearing you promote, man. That's good, man. Some people don't come out to promote. You're a very successful person. You might feel like you don't have to come around and promote. I like that you come and promote and then
Got a plug.
got a plug, man.
And you're in a movie called Downsizing coming out soon, right?
Downsizing as well, yeah. Paramount movie with Matt Damon. That's going to be a big thing. That's just about to launch.
Yep. Okay, cool. Heather?
I'm at the happy hour, WHB.
I'm at Real Sway across the board. Until tomorrow, we have nothing left to say.
It's Sway in the morning, only on Shea 45.